Hi, Wild Bill. It's the 7th of February 2023, and doggone, talk about your modern problems. I started to play, and the garbage men came for the dumpster outside. Okay, got up, waited. They left, got up to play, and the furnace came on. Waited for the furnace to run, turned it down, got up to play, and the piano started bugging. First world problems. This is a lesson in jazz. And I'm not a jazz musician. So this ought to be pretty darn interesting, don't you think? Yeah. A lot of us think that jazz is a style of writing. And some people think that jazz is uh, represents your ability to just go right off the edge of music like, right? It's neither. It's both, but it's neither. Jazz is an approach, literally an approach to music made by people who have played a song so many times they are so bored with it they could fall asleep playing it. And if you're working in a swing band back in the 30s or 40s, that's exactly what you were doing. You were playing. You you know, you're getting bored with it. You played it so many times, you don't have to look at it, you don't have to think about it. You saw what I was doing. I was like losing track. And I'm not a jazz musician. I'm just a guy that happens to know the chords for that song. Now, that song isn't jazz. Even though it sounds pretty, it's not jazz. And the way I'm playing it, certainly not jazz. So what is jazz? Jazz is boredom. You played this song. So you do that 1,000 times in a year, and you're getting bored. Literally 1,000 times in a year. If you're in Glenn Miller's band, if you're in Cab Calloway's band, Louis Armstrong's band, Count Basie's band, you're playing. Wow, right? You're playing that song 3 times a night, 5 nights a week. It's 15 times a week, and then you're playing it 52 weeks a year. Uh, so after a while, music isn't your love anymore. Music becomes your job, right? This is how you make your living. And so the love that drives the rest of us, the inability, the inarticulate problem that we have trying to express ourselves socially that we turn into art isn't there for a jazz musician because he's working that same band, that same set of songs, a little bit of change, and sometimes the band leader could say, you know what, I decided I don't like that change at the end. We're going to change the ending tonight, and you better learn it and do it right. How many of us could do that? Not many. That's what it takes to be a musician. Not to be a jazz musician. A jazz musician is another level of critter because a jazz musician is not only competent musically, can pick up that chart that the band leader just handed him and go like, oh, you know, that's how that change goes. Okay. Whereas one of us would be like, ha, show me the tab, because we don't know how to read music. We don't know how to read the schematics for our craft. So anyway, the jazz musician isn't a person who can play a complex series of changes, because anybody can learn to do that. I can learn to do that. A jazz musician isn't a person that can write a complex piece of music because jazz lies in the performance. It doesn't lie in the writing. You can be a highly eclectic, wonderfully educated, prodigal leveled writer, and you're still not jazz until you perform. Jazz is a performance art. It isn't a style of writing, and it isn't a style of performing. It is an approach to performing as a performance art. And it's based on a man being so bored, that he just goes crazy and starts playing little ditty things, little different things, things that aren't in the song, things that could be in the song, but they're not. And the band leader looks at him and, should I fire this guy? Let him go. And then pretty soon, the drummer and the pianist are having like a little moment, or the guitarist and the drummer, or the, whoever. They're having a little moment. They're looking at each other. Here comes that piece of the song. And we go, da da, right? And why? Because it keeps you awake. Otherwise, you'd be bored to tears. You played that song 1,000 times a year. How many years you're in now? 5, 6, 10? How many times you played that song? 5,000, 6,000, 10,000. Oh God, please relieve me from this without breaking my ears, hands, or mouth. So you do something different. Here's how simple it is to create jazz over a simple set of changes. It's not simple to create the jazz, but it is simple changes are just as jazz as anything else because it isn't about who wrote it, it's about the performer approaching the song differently because he is so bored with that song he can't take it anymore. So that's his statement, right? Hell no, we won't go. I'm tired of playing Take the A Train. I want to do something different. Here's a way to approach that. Dizzy Gillespie, well known as a jazz trumpeter, really, really fine talent. Wrote a number of jazz compositions that we collectively refer to as bebop today. And it was the most highly eclectic music of the day was being performed by bebop musicians. People who were so bored with playing the same swing tunes. Da-da-da-da. 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 That was Glenn Miller's song. So you get bored doing that after a while. After 5 years of doing that. After 5 years of doing that 3 times a day, 5 days a week. Maybe matinees on the weekends. And so you approach it differently. Here's a way to take the simplest changes and create jazz from them. This is not in the performance at this moment. I'm going to show you how that works, though. Okay? Here's a song of mine that I moved from to here. It's the same relationships, mathematically, musically speaking, just moved it to a different key, which is what any band should be able to do to match their singer's singing range. Take any song and the singer sings it everywhere till he or she finds it's comfortable and then says, that's where you learn it, and the band learns the song there. Any other way is forcing the singer to carry the whole weight of the band because the band is too lazy to learn the song where the singer sounds best, where the band will sound best. Okay. So here's a simple set of changes. Neon light outside my window through the blinds is cutting my face with the tiger stripes. Across above the city I can feel the vibe. I know the devil's getting lucky tonight. Pretty simple, right? I play it a lot. It's my own song. But you can take those same changes and you can do something wild with them. It's the same changes almost to doodly da da doodly dum, doodly da da lay, doodly da da doodly dum, daddy da do day, what da do doodly da da doodly da. And that's not hard, but that is bebop jazz. And then for the break, he just does the same change that they did in the Leave It to Beaver theme, or vice versa. Da 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 da. And that song is no more difficult than The Devil's Getting Lucky Tonight. The difference isn't in the musical score. The difference lies in the approach. And Dizzy and Company could approach that song in a way that I am unable to. Approach that change in a way that I am unable to. Because they were so good and they had played so many songs the same so many times that they were so bored that they had to do something about it. And that's what that's all about. They took that very simple progression that many of us have used since. It's not Dizzy's. And they made something wildly eclectic out of it. Go listen to Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker bebop with Bud Powell on piano. And you will hear genius at work. 3 chords. Genius at work. Can you imagine? So that's what jazz is. It's an approach. It's not a style of music. You can't say, oh, that's a jazz song and this isn't. Because any song can be turned into jazz by competent musicians who are bored with it. And the more you know about music, the more you know about the science part of your craft, the more you know about the craft side of your art, the more you can do that, the closer you come to jazz. And the goal of music is to become a jazz performer, whether or not you're in public, so that you can always hear things in the way that you want to express them, that you don't have to go, you go like, oh, ah, that's what jazz is. I've done this so many times. I understand it so well. I now feel comfortable and confident in variations on a theme. Variations on a theme in the writing is classical music. Variations on a theme in the performing, that's jazz. Once you get to that point, as a soloist, you will be playing an alternative melody to the chord structure of the song you're performing. And there will be a place for it in the song called the solo. On the other end, there are the writer performers and arranger performers that can change the chords of the song and they still fit the melody. That's called reharmonization. It's considered the heights of musical artistry, or at least of musical science. Wild Bill, 7th of February, 2023.